If given the choice, would you rather buy a Miata or an 8.6? Now, for me, you obviously know what option I went with, but for you, an 8.6 might just be the better pick for you. When it comes to low power, lower cost, rear drive sports cars, there's really nowhere else to look besides the Miata and the 8.6. So between both of them, which one is the better car? Starting off with the way they look, I think both cars look pretty damn good, with the Miata obviously looking just a little bit better. But with the 8.6, there's more options to choose from when it comes to the factory look. You can get an old gen BRZ, an old gen FRS, the facelifted 8.6, you can get the new gen 8.6, and finally, you can get the new gen BRZ. When going with the 8.6 platform, you have all these options to choose from, but with the Miata, you're just stuck with this beautiful looking car, and there's really no problem with that, but it's evident that the 8.6 has the Miata beat when it comes to variety and how they look. And even going beyond the factory look, it also has the Miata beat when it comes to aftermarket sport, which is one thing I've never really understood. Both cars were released within 4 years of each other, yet the 8.6 has an entire landfill of aftermarket parts to choose from compared to the smaller list the Miata has to work with. Now, don't get me wrong, aftermarket support for the ND is still fairly strong, but I just feel like I don't see as many body kits on them compared to the 8.6. And honestly, one reason for that is because I feel like the mindset most people probably have when buying the Miata is they think, okay, I'll buy the car, maybe get a set of wheels, I'll throw an exhaust on it, and that's it. That's all that they do. I just feel like Mazda set this car up so well from the factory to where the demand for different parts for the car just was never there. And I feel like that's why most ND Miatas look the exact same. Now, talking about price, both the 8.6 and the Miata start to creep up to the $40,000 price point, with the Miata being just slightly more expensive. So it's really a coin toss as to which one you want to go with. But looking on the used market, since the Miata is older than the GR86, you can find one for cheaper. But what's probably the best deal out of any of these cars is the original BRZ and FRS. You can find a used ND Miata anywhere from $17,000 to around $25,000, but for the original BRZ and FRS, they usually go for around $7,000 to $15,000, making it by far the cheapest option. Now, in my notes, I didn't really know where else to put this, but yes, the 8.6 is more practical than the Miata, so it's just another thing you have to think about if you are on the hunt for any of these cars. When it comes to driving feel, I've driven both the Miata, obviously, and the GR86, and while my time with it was pretty limited, I can say it did feel pretty smooth, although the difference in weight was pretty apparent. Now, I'll touch on the engine in a second, but I definitely think that the power that the 8.6 makes over the Miata makes up for that difference in weight. And you know, while it's not a hugely significant difference, it's just what I felt with the limited time I had driving it. Now, from the mouths of other people, you most often hear them say that the Miata feels more playful because of its very thin sway bars, and the 8.6 just feels better set up to go fast. Now, in my opinion, I probably would have wanted the Miata to feel a little bit closer to that, just being more composed in the corners, because there would be some times where I would enter a corner mid-speed and I would just feel the entire weight of the car just like sag to the opposite side, just providing for a very uneasy feeling to the point where I wouldn't really know when I could step on the throttle to exit the corner. And I'm sure the slightly smaller wheelbase on the Miata probably doesn't help with that feeling of instability. Now, for those that don't know, if you have a shorter wheelbase car, it can feel really pointy and darty, but because of the wheels being so much closer together, it can feel at times a little bit unpredictable and snappy if you're pushing the car too hard. Now, as far as engine setups go, I think I prefer the Miata just a little bit more than the 8.6 just because of the way it sounds. Personally, I think the Miata sounds far better with an exhaust compared to the 8.6, but it's really the only leg up it has, except for reliability, I guess. Both engines feel fairly linear in their power delivery, with the exception being the old gen BRZs with the torque dip. But the area the 8.6 excels at is forced induction and actually building the engine out. When going with a turbo, I've seen the 8.6 make anywhere from 400 to 500 horsepower, while the Miata on a similar setup makes a whopping 230 horsepower, maybe 250 if you're lucky. I've literally only seen one ND Miata push 300 horsepower, so on average, you'll be making anywhere from 200 to 230 horsepower, spending anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000, and that just does not seem worth it to me. So because of that, I think the 8.6 has the Miata outclassed yet again when it comes to its engine setup. And like, for the old gen BRZs, you can put ITBs on them. Like, it's really cool. Like,
Wow, that's awesome.
Now, when it comes to the community aspect for both cars, I can obviously only really speak for the Miata. And I just gotta say, like, most people that own Miatas are happier on average than anyone else. Like, straight up, being as unbiased as I can be, because at heart, I'm really a RX-7 person, not a Miata person. Being unbiased, Miata owners are some of the greatest people on this planet, and I really mean that. I just can't think of any other subset in the car community that has as much fun and are as supportive as the Miata community. Like, I'm sure people are supportive and whatnot with other communities, and like, if you ask for help, if you ask for support, you'll get it. But with the Miata community, they pull up in droves just to help out, and that's just something I haven't seen with literally any other community. So if you personally own a Miata, thank you for existing. You know, and obviously thank you for existing even if you don't have a Miata. But, you know, if you do have a Miata or used to have a Miata, thank you for existing. You're probably a very cool person. And bro, just think about it. Only cool people own Miatas. Like, try and think about the last person you saw that was an asshole who also drove a Miata. Like, that just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, that's just what I'm trying to tell you, bro. Like, putting this video to a close, it's clear to me that the Miata has stayed true to form throughout the entirety of its existence. Like, if you put each generation back to back, you can see the evolution and how the Miata has only really gotten better as time went on. But with the 86, it's just a little different. With its lineage deriving from what was essentially an economy car with a really good engine that just so happened to be a really good performance car, the meaning of the 86 has changed over the years. No longer is the 86 just a grocery getter economy car that just so happens to be a good performing car. The 86 is the focused version of that, embodying the spirit of the original A86. Low power, rear-wheel drive with good weight balance, and a long list of aftermarket parts. That's what the 86 is. Now you may be wondering, Gibson, from all of what you just said, it kind of sounds like the 86 is the better car over the Miata, so why didn't you just go with the 86? I went with the Miata because I wanted to. That's it.